We need intro music again.
We could always use the thing we used before. That seemed to work.
Yeah,
It was pretty aggressive, though.
I'm a pretty aggressive person, you know.
Yeah, oh man, the warning signals just remind me of like when they used to do tests every Wednesday.
Yeah. Did you have like the air raid sirens that they tested,
Yeah, I mean tornado sirens. Yeah,
like on the first Tuesday of every month or something?
yeah.
Yeah, those were pretty brutal. Why does it say looks like your embedded link is invalid for chat? That's weird. Are we not able to see the chat? We have 0 viewers.
Maybe the link. Maybe we need to recreate this. Maybe the stream time is this is the same link as before, right?
Sure. I don't know. I just like. Let's check on Facebook. Let's see if anything. Oh, it looks like somebody liked it, so it looks like the video's up. All right. So it looks like it's working. For some reason, it's just.
Yeah, I mean I see it.
Let's see. How do we?
Liked it, so it looks like the video's up. It's going.
For some reason, it's just. Looks like your embedded link is invalid. Visit the chat settings and grab a new one. Chat settings. Just turn off chat overlay and then turn it back on. Doesn't seem to work. Oh well, if we can't see the chat in the video, we'll just comment on it.
Yeah.
Like we used to do the old-fashioned way or something like that.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so nice to have everything consolidated though.
I know, right?
Let's see.
It's pretty good.
I'm looking in settings on my end. I don't have chat settings.
Yeah, I think it's over here. That's okay. If you're in chat, say something, so then we could see if it's working or not.
Yeah.
Type something. Press enter. Maybe you should just type something. Go to Facebook and... Anyway, I don't know if Dariia is going to be here today. We tried to get a hold of her. She might be traveling.
Okay, so chat's working.
Yeah, it's working. It's just not showing up on the screen, which is...
Okay, so it's not showing up on... Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
I guess people just have to deal with it.
As long as we can see it.
Yeah. Looks like your embed link is invalid. Visit the chat settings and grab a new one. Where are chat settings? How do I grab a new one? Settings, general, video, audio, shortcuts. Yeah, that's the problem with this technology.
Some people are claiming they can see chat.
Oh, really? They're claiming they can see it?
Yeah, like on YouTube at least. I don't know about Facebook. Maybe it's just down on Facebook or something.
Let me see. What if I just like refresh? I'm gonna disappear for a second. Will that like close everything?
Okay, so Kitten can see it on Facebook. But is the chat streaming in the...
Oh, it is. It's streaming in the video on Facebook.
Okay.
Weird. Okay, that's fine then, because we could see it on the side.
That's yeah, weird. Whatever. It's just an annoying error message.
Man, yeah. This stuff always bothers me, because it's just like, how hard is it to get live streaming to work? Right. And like, how many people do it all the time? And it's like so error prone. Like, imagine if your car just like every 5 times you used it just like didn't work. Like something didn't work,
Yeah. Oh man, it's better than Zoom though. Zoom was awful.
Yeah. I
think the worst like video chat software I ever used was Signal. It was a mess.
Oh yeah, you use Signal video chat? Wow.
I know.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with Signal.
I deleted it.
And Moxie, Marlon Spike, he's my friend. Moxie, shout out to you. But like, it has a lot of issues, and yeah. It's just so hard to use. I just like had so many issues with like people who had Signal. Like if you send a message to somebody who has Signal downloaded, it would go to their Signal and not their normal text messages.
Yeah.
And so if they didn't have like their notifications on for Signal, or like Apple, really weird stuff happens. Like people wouldn't even get my text messages, you know? And I was just like, oh gosh, this is super annoying. And eventually I just had to give up because like people who had Signal downloaded but didn't use it, like they wouldn't get my text messages for some reason.
Yeah, and see, what got me on it was, you know, it was like really hard because, I mean, I guess encrypting is an extra step, so like the bandwidth is higher or something. But yeah, the thing that finally was it just quit working one day. Like I'd push the app and it would like pop up and immediately crash. And then I even uninstalled it and reinstalled it and it just never could work. So I was like, well, I guess I'm done.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. Oh well. But yeah, Signal, I mean, I kind of come from the point of view that like there's really no way of stopping the government from
I know, right?
Anything that I like. If they want to view any of my shit, they're viewing my shit, and so I'm just kind of like, I always assume that, you know, just Same. Like, you know, if there's anything I want to talk about that, you know, people shouldn't hear, it's like face to face with nobody else around, not in any, you know, normal location.
Yeah, I just kind of assume, you know, because it's just like, it's just so much easier not to do illegal shit.
Oh yeah, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried that I'm doing illegal stuff. That's not what scares me. What scares me is the government. Like the thing is government can make up anything they want. You know, They could be like, oh, you guys at the Odin are selling toxic chemicals or something like that. And they go look around until they find like something that's supposedly toxic, or like swab the whole building and find some bacteria that are like pathogenic, and then just like blame it on you, right? So like that's what I'm more worried about, is them having any sort of evidence to back up shit like that.
Yeah, you know? I mean, honestly, if some group wants to take you down, I mean, what are you gonna do? They're just gonna make shit up and say it enough people believe it.
I don't know if they'll make shit up necessarily. You don't have to make shit up nowadays, right? Like,
how would you know the difference, though? Is my point.
How would I know the difference, or like?
Or like how would okay, Germany, right? Like we sent that that one kit and they like tested it and found like pathogenic bacteria in the E. coli because they just did the simplest dumb test in the world. And so
I mean, you're gonna find bacteria in everything is the thing. Like but that's the thing is like, that's what I'm saying is like, if you look hard enough, you don't have to make stuff up. You can just like, look, this thing you said on your chat one time is like, you know, like sending people messages that say for drugs and crack and
right.
Fuck no.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing is like, you know, what are you gonna do? Like, even if you're like living in a mountain cabin somewhere, I mean, if somebody decides they care enough to like make trouble for you, they're gonna make trouble for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you just try to not piss off the wrong people too much.
Right.
That's my goal, basically, is like, you know, do my best not to piss off the wrong people too much.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like try to be very particular about what I say and what I do and who I criticize in public and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that's just like,
because that's what I realize is like, it's not just like going to jail is bad and that can happen, but it's not just going to jail. Like, people can make your life difficult in a lot of different ways. You know, they can just like keep suing you for eternity and cost you a ton of money, and bullshit like that. And it's just like, yeah.
Yeah, or like, hire a botnet to come after your website or stupid stuff,
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, Signal, sorry. Yeah. I did use some encrypted email for a little while when I sent it to specific people. What's up?
I used Proton Mail for a while.
No, I mean, you could just encrypt it in like Gmail or something. The thing is like encrypted email really is only good for like sending it through the ether, because like if somebody gets access to your email account, obviously they can read all your shit. So it doesn't matter to me if I'm using like Gmail or whatever, because like, yeah, if somebody hacks my Gmail account, like it doesn't matter what.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought about that too. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe if they get it from the middleman, they don't really have it still, but
yeah, like PGP encrypted, you can PGP encrypt your emails and stuff. There's just like a plugin for Gmail. Yeah. But a lot of that times, usually when somebody asks me, to like communicate over encrypted chat or something like that, they're full of shit. It's like
I've noticed that too. It's the same with non-disclosure agreements. I've noticed every time I've had somebody be like, "Can you sign a non-disclosure agreement before I tell you my amazing idea?" It's not that amazing.
Oh yeah, I mean totally, right? Like knowing so many companies and people in Silicon Valley and CEOs and everything like that, like nobody serious ever asks you to sign a non-disclosure agreement unless it's like super serious, like Google or somebody like that, right? It's like, sure, if you go, to like Google X or visit parts of whatever, like they'll make you sign some documents, or like SpaceX or some shit. But like, if any company that's not like a multi-trillion-dollar company is asking you to sign a non-disclosure agreement, it's like, that's what people I think don't get, is like contracts for normal people don't make sense.
Yeah.
Because they're only worth as much as your ability to enforce it. Right? So if you're like giving me a contract, it's like I used to have people give me contracts over like, or send people contracts over like consulting for like $300. And it's just like, if you're paying me $300 for consulting, I doubt like you're going to be able to enforce any of these ideas, these contract breaches. So like, I'm here to pretend, but also like,
yeah. I mean, my thing is like you're saying, because it's like if you're worried somebody's gonna take you, which is why I've always done like, like with dogs and stuff, people do contracts and things like that. It's like, okay, so what happens if somebody actually breaches a contract? Am I going to sue them? Like for what? For like, I'm going to pay the lawyer more than the dog.
Exactly.
Like everybody loses.
Yeah,
it's like
totally.
People you don't trust. Like if you gotta have somebody if you gotta force somebody to sign a contract before you trust them with a dog, you shouldn't be trusting one of your puppies.
Yeah. Contracts. I mean, of course, if it's like for a large amount of money with bigger corporations, they always make you like sign some sort of contract. But they also just have like fucking a million lawyers on retainer.
Yeah.
You can do anything, but yeah, normal, average, everyday people. I remember when I was working with somebody to do some contract work, and they wrote up their own contract and sent it to me, and I was like, I don't think that's how it works. It was just like kind of written very, I don't know,
like common language.
It wasn't written like a contract at all. Like probably so many holes in it and whatever. And it was just like very
lawyers picking apart about 5 minutes.
Yeah, like 30 seconds. And I was just like, okay, I'll sign this contract, but like,
yeah,
it's super silly because like you can't just like, your average person can't just like write a contract and like send it over and hope it to be like in any way enforceable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh well, you didn't have a whatever clause, so we're just out now. Yeah.
Yeah, the language wasn't specific enough or something like that, right? Like wasn't general enough. Like it's just it's funny. Yeah, contracts in the business world have kind of just laugh at them.
Yeah. So the guys asking about my follistatin project, just check out my Odyssey soon. There'll be something there. Otherwise, it's on my Patreon.
Check out Odyssey. Oh, there's something new. Have you been doing something new, or is it just like?
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, I mean, I've been still working on it this whole time. I just don't want to put it on YouTube and get YouTube to take me down again.
Oh, right on.
I took all the interesting stuff off of YouTube because, they canceled you and deleted several of my videos. So I just deleted everything that was controversial.
Yeah, right on. Yeah. Odyssey seems to be, Vimeo, you can put videos on also, but you have to pay, which is kind of annoying. But I don't think they care, really.
Yeah. And I think, like Odyssey works fine. It's got some issues, though. Like, I don't like it as, like, they got some technical problems to work out also.
Yeah.
It's definitely like a better, like an easier platform,
Yeah.
They were not as picky.
Yeah. So, well, we're going to talk about bannings and stuff today. So we'll get to it. Don't worry. Or we are already getting to it. But yeah, on Friday, Stripe canceled payment processing for the Odin after processing payments for us for over a year. So that was quite disappointing. Yeah, we can't catch a break on some of this stuff, which is really annoying. It's just, it makes it difficult because you have to spend a lot of time doing, pointless bureaucratic bullshit instead of doing work and just dealing with these issues, right? It's like when you get banned, and then you have to set up completely new payment processing and stuff like that, and it takes time and effort. And it happens to us fairly often. So, it takes up too much time and effort, but we'll see. Dariia, I don't know where she might be traveling right now.
Yeah, it's the 13th. I think she is traveling right now.
Yeah. I can't remember if she said she was leaving the 13th or 15th or what exact day. But
I think it was going to be in Poland on the 14th, so I do think she's traveling.
Oh, okay. So she's probably traveling today, so she won't be with us. She might not be with us for a couple weeks. Maybe, we'll see. I don't know what the status of internet is in Ukraine, or
I think that's Starlink in some places. But I don't know about just like regular folks.
Yeah. Try using payment processing through Costco. Dan. Yeah, I don't know,
Yeah, I don't know if that's I don't know if you can do that for. They have a thing for online businesses.
And even like I don't, the thing is that like, I mean, we're trying to get set up with some more high risk payment processors because payment processors deem us high risk, and that's why they kick us off because we sell different stuff.
Yeah, if we just sold like hair bands and bottles and like normal retailer stuff, nobody would care.
I like how hair bands and bottles is your normal retail stuff.
I was just thinking about random stuff from like Amazon. You buy your hair bands.
But yeah, and people are like, oh, except crypto, but it's like crypto just nobody uses it. Nobody uses it as a payment method. And not only that, like the processing fees are insane for crypto. Like the one benefit of crypto is supposed to be like small processing fees, but because like really the only way to exchange crypto is easily. Sure, you can get an account at an exchange, put your money on there, filter through the exchange, and deposit it out your account. That's way too complicated. And so instead, we, like most people, use like Coinbase or something like that, and the fees are ridiculously high. They're like way higher than what you'd see in a normal payment processor. And so, like, even when we use crypto, like, and crypto's hard because like the value of things changes like every minute.
Yeah.
Like I remember I paid somebody in crypto not too long ago. I sent them some money, and they're like, "How much crypto did you send me?" And I was like, "Oh, I sent you, like I don't know, $315," and the cost was like $300. And they're like, "Oh, because the crypto was worth like $290 by the time they cashed it out or something." And I'm like, "Oops! Like, what do you want me to do?"
Especially if you don't have a really high profit margin, like it can fall below profitability before the transaction's calculated.
That's true, Christy. We should do like biohacking porn. Then we could just be like biohacking porn, guns, drugs. Just like try to win them all.
Yeah, just piss off everybody all at once.
Biohacking porn. There should be, like I remember back in the day they used to do for hackers, computer hackers. They used to do like hacker porn calendars or some shit.
Really?
Oh yeah, right.
Have like Kevin Mitnick on there.
Get them in DEF CON. Oh no, it was like usually.
Yeah, I'm sure models. I was joking.
Yeah, but it was pretty funny. Yeah,
that's funny.
Biohackers. We should do that.
Biohacker calendar.
I wonder how well it would sell.
Probably not good.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think people want to see naked pictures of us, David.
I've gotten some weird emails. I know you have.
I don't know if Paul would be okay with that, right? She'd be pretty pissed.
Move to a country where you can do science without getting harassed. Yeah.
It's a good way to raise money, though. We could do it. The thing is, it's not country-based, like these are internet companies, so it doesn't matter where we are. We'd probably have a lot harder to, like, in some countries, we wouldn't even be able to use Stripe, period, much less be banned from it. So it's,
countries.
So I think that's the issue, is that like the U.S. is a great country to do biohacking. When did that offer to buy me? I know, right? I definitely get some weird messages. Yeah. Ooh, I got some.
Some fresh ones.
Today's weird messages.
Okay, good.
Here we go. Hi, I had a dream the night before last that it was a zombie apocalypse, and I was hiding with you in my basement, and the FBI was looking for you, and they came to question me, and they kept asking if I kept asking them if they were looking for you because you were the cure, you had the cure, because you were the cause of the zombie apocalypse. They wouldn't tell me.
What is it? Okay.
I don't know either. It's a good one. Like,
it might make a good movie.
Or did I make the cure? Nobody knows until the end.
Maybe both. Yeah, but leave it ambiguous so there's drama throughout the scene.
Yeah. That's it. That's what I got this morning. Oh, I also got this one. Bro, what happened to your body? You used to have big arms and you look ripped. I think the person's trying to hit on me, maybe jealous. But did they narc on you? I don't know. It's a good question. I don't think I can send them a message back and ask them, did you narc on me?
I feel like the fact that they didn't say that they specifically didn't narc on you probably implies that they did.
Oh, man.
Because I feel like with that email in that context, if they had stayed true, they'd have been like, and I didn't even say anything.
They didn't narc on me. Come on. Don't do it for the science. Nah, I mean, I'd probably narc on me also. I'd be like, fuck it, I'm not going to jail. This weirdo from the internet. They seem pretty sketchy. They probably created the zombie apocalypse. The thing is the FBI is still around after the zombie apocalypse. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe it's just run by the zombies now.
Oh, that's true. Maybe it was the zombies in disguise as FBI agents.
Maybe so. I mean, who says there can't be smart zombies, right?
Yeah.
And they eat all those brains. They got to get smarter as they eat more brains, right?
Makes sense. Scientific fact.
Right.
You know.
Oh man.
What about crypto? I just answered that like 2 minutes ago, so you probably missed it. Just
really
rewind a little bit. But your wording doesn't really unite people for a cause. So, I mean, here's the thing is, I think you're wrong. Like, I don't unite academics for a cause, but like, academics are the problem. So like, I can't unite them if they're the problem, right? It's like, nobody is telling academics to publish papers behind paywalls or make it impossible for anybody to get accepted to graduate school or take all the money that they get from government grants and waste it publishing papers on really expensive equipment that shouldn't. You should check out some of the stuff that it is sold on websites, scientific websites. Yeah, like there. I once on Fisher I found an aluminum pot, just like any pot that you would have, for $500. Yeah, and it was like science boiling apparatus, and like the same one is on Amazon for like $23. Yeah, $2,000 gel boxes or gel combs. You know, a little piece of plastic that says teeth.
$40.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like nothing.
And so it's like, okay, I've talked to academics. I was an academic, and like, what do you want me to do? It's funny because like when my company, like we sell science supplies for less expensive than all the traditional places. So if you go to like Fisher or any of these places, like you can buy the stuff less expensive from us. And I went to all the professors and people I used to work with, and I was like, hey, buy stuff from us. You know, and they're just like, we don't really care. We're not trying to save money. And I'm like, what do you mean you're not trying to save money? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
also, like the argument that like not all of us can have labs. Like, I mean, maybe not, but I'd say a lot of people can have labs. Like I built a lab in a shed in Mississippi out of scraps and stuff off of eBay and from the Odin. And I mean, it was like a fully functional genetic engineering lab. So like, I think it's a matter of like thinking outside the box and using a little creativity. And, you know, I think it's much more approachable problem than most people think it is.
Yeah, and it's like, sure, you know, they're scholars and not entrepreneurs, but like, that's not a good reason to like burn all the government's money, right? It should be in the hands of people who are responsible with it. Right? Like, whether they're good at handling money or not, like they should be responsible with it. So each dollar they get, they should be using it diligently to get the best results that they can. But that's not the way it works, right? Instead, they just buy, you know, a box of pipette tips for $20 because that's what Fisher sells it to them for, and they're happy with it, right? Yeah, it's disappointing.
Yeah.
But yeah, accessibility for poor, disadvantaged, under-resourced people is like what we're going for, right? Here's the thing. What people don't understand is that like academic scientists are a very small group of people. Like academic biomedical scientists, it's very small. You're talking in the hundreds of thousands, less than 500,000 people in the US, right? And so like it would be easy for the number of biohackers to surpass the number of academic scientists. And then like who cares what academic scientists think? Right? Like why would I one day they'll come around and be like, ooh, maybe we should start working with the biohackers. I've never been against working with academic scientists. They're the ones who've attacked me, are against working with me, And so it's just like.
Yeah. As far as how much did my lab cost, I have no idea, really. Because I didn't just like spit out some money and build it all in a day. It was like, I get this thing and that thing and this thing, and I build this and I make that and I upgrade this. So it was like all pieced together. So it would be like
At the Odin, we sell like a basic genetic engineering lab for I think like $1,500.
Yeah.
Which is
that's with the extra.
Super inexpensive.
With the extras.
And so it's like you can get set up with like a very, with like most of the equipment you're ever going to use for like $1,500. And maybe like total you buy a bunch of other stuff, reagents, supplies, it ends up costing you easily less than $5,000. But yeah, it's not like a super expensive endeavor. Unless you're like in a professional lab, then these people just spend ridiculous amounts of money on stuff for no reason.
Yeah. And this kind of thing is like, and I'm not the only example. There's like lots and lots of people that have built home labs who aren't like wealthy people, like, lower middle class should easily be able to build a home lab. Like if you can build a wood shop, you can build a home genetics lab.
Yeah, that's what I think is like the goal, is that like hobbyists, if you want to do it as a hobby, it shouldn't be any more expensive than any other hobby you wanted to do. If you wanted to get into, playing some musical instruments or something else, like we're trying to get it at a price where, people can afford it.
Yeah.
While also, making money so that we can keep running.
As long as we can get payments processed anyway.
Yeah. Just take credit cards over the phone or something.
Yeah. You could do it old school, have one of those little machines, have people show up and just go like shunk shunk.
Send me a check.
Oh man. Who even has a checkbook anymore?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't have to pay anything by check, but occasionally the Odin does. Like every once in a while, there's people who only send checks. But I'm so happy that like I can pay my rent and everything online.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely lived in Oakland, the landlord for the Odin only accepted checks. So
yeah,
that's the only thing he used checks for. Basically, was just like.
I think the only thing I've used a check for is like in like the last 10 years, probably, other than like a voided check to whatever, is like the government. Like some government agencies only take checks because they're.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it's like you're a multi-billion-dollar institute, or like a multi-trillion-dollar institution. How do you not take credit cards in the 20th century?
Yeah.
For Bill, where do you buy your DNA from? I usually get it from either GenScript or SynBiotech, depending on like what I want.
There's a ton of companies that you can get DNA from. It's not like just search online like
DNA
synthetic DNA, or DNA synthesis or whatever, and like try a company, and if they're like, no, we won't ship to you, then just like try the next one. And
they're all pretty equivalent in price.
Yeah. You had a male rabbit produce. I don't know what you can do about that. I think here's the thing is like a lot of people view science as like super complex thing, like you need all this equipment or crazy stuff or something like that. When science can be as simple as just like breeding rabbits or breeding plants or something like that. Like super simple stuff that like the cost is you know nothing more than what you're already spending.
Yeah, and it's even like like most of the equipment people think you need like cutting edge stuff, but I mean most of the stuff is like really simple chemistry stuff. You know, it's like, and people waste money on a lot of stuff they don't need. They're like, okay, I'm gonna go buy a really good microscope. It's like, first of all, you don't even need a microscope in genetics most of the time.
Yeah.
Like my microscopes at home are covered in dust because I rarely use them. It's like, spend that money on a gel box. It's going to tell you way more.
Yeah, or something else. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I think microscopes are like the object that people see science as. So everybody wants a microscope, and they're cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love microscopes, but also, it's like after like 10 minutes, they're kind of boring.
I can't get lost in
a bunch of stuff.
Though.
I looked at a bunch of stuff under the microscope. All right, like I get it. Things look different when you look at them up close.
With the exception, to me, of fluorescent microscopes. I can get looking at some fluorescent stuff, like especially like fluorescent cells or something, and I'll just be stuck there for hours. It's just so beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
A nice fluorescent microscope. I can definitely get stuck in that. But yeah, I mean, most of these things are not complicated and easy to build.
Yeah. Yeah, these live chats, I think, right now they are uploaded to my Twitch. I have a secret Twitch channel. I used to do some live streaming. The problem with Twitch is that they remove the videos after like 14 days or something like that.
It's annoying.
Yeah. I don't know if that's good or bad. But yeah, I used to do some
not
like
to
Magic the Gathering live streaming and stuff.
Nice.
I know. I know. I might do some again if I have time. What are your thoughts on Roe and Wade?
Oh,
wow. That sounds like a sorry, Bill. I don't think we're going to really discuss that. I don't know if there's much like scientific. Not that we only discuss scientific things, but like I think just bring that in.
Yeah, that's just going to start a huge flame war in the comments. It's going to be we don't need that.
Turning the whole video into a highlight or whatever. Oh, interesting. Okay. I usually just download the videos from Restream, what we used to stream, and then upload them to Odyssey. So like odyssey.com/biohacktheplanet is my Odyssey.
See, it automatically does it when it goes to my YouTube, and then Odyssey just picks it up from the sync.
Oh, Odyssey just automatically uploads it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was banned from YouTube, so I
Yeah.
wonder if one day they'll unban me, or if it's just like.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so funny to be like, YouTube hates me.
Like 50 years from now, they'll be like, "You're finally unbanned."
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's the happiest moment of my life.
Oh man.
Any news about the documentary? Yeah, I mean, it's something that we're working on still, putting together the footage and stuff like that. Yeah, it just takes time. We're hoping to have some stuff by Biohack the Planet, which is Labor Day weekend, the first few days of September. We're having a conference at the Odin. So if you're coming to that, yeah, you'll hopefully be able to see something. You'll definitely be able to see something. So yeah, it's coming along. It's just like these things take time. It's a lot slower than you imagine, because there's just like, little things like organizing footage or dealing with sound and syncing up the audio and all these things that just make it a slow color correcting and make it a slow process.
Yeah. Is there any country we won't get pressed for biohacking? I mean, I think the U.S. is probably the best one where you can just biohack all you want without people doing much. The trouble is, it's not the U.S. that usually causes problems so much as it is like tech companies being scared that they're going to get, I don't know, in trouble for being associated with you or something.
I don't know who Zania Jones is. Is that like somebody I should know? Zania Jones? Are you friends with Zania Jones? I don't know who the person is, so we're not friends. Definitely not. Zania Jones. He's an American writer, blogger.
It's like science and technology kind of.
I don't know. Oh, a science person, yeah. Busting hoaxes. Blah blah blah. Yeah. No, I don't know this person. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe someday. Yeah. I bugged Twitter. I mean, I bugged YouTube a lot, and a lot of pressure on YouTube by a ton of people. It doesn't work, like I'm not gonna get unbanned. Yeah. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Anti-aging movement going through something similar. I mean, the anti-aging movement is full of shit, so.
I mean, the thing is, but the point still kind of stands, right? Is like, if something's around long enough, people just accept it as normal eventually. There's a point, like, if you're like the first biohacker in the world, people are like, if you're a crazy person, you shouldn't be doing this. But if you're like the 10,000th biohacker, people are like, it's just a thing.
On anybody that like David Sinclair, George Church, Aubrey de Grey all died before 100 years old. Maybe even like before 80, 90, let's say 90, if anybody wants to take that bet. Like, I bet you they all will.
Yeah.
It's maybe George is vegan, but the thing with George is he's also like 6'6" or something.
Oh, it's working against him.
Yeah, don't like bigger people tend to have less long lives.
Yeah.
So
and he's not exactly skinny either, so.
Yeah. So who knows? But yeah, I mean, I think the problem with anti-aging is they're trying to sell you bullshit. Take this pill, take metformin, or take this pill thing that I've come up and it'll help you live longer. And it's like, there's no evidence in humans that it will, Sure, there might be evidence in mice, but there's also evidence, put fucking wings on mice and shit.
Yeah. Mice are, we've done a little bit of everything with mice.
Cured mice of every disease, Mice have been cured of cancer like 1,000 times.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny because we've given mice like every disease, like even genetic diseases that never happened, we just gave it to them and then cured it. It's like, from a mouse's perspective, we're pretty fucking horrible.
We cured the mice. Yeah, man. They got it shitty.
Yeah. I would definitely my life out for a lab mouse's life.
It's just like, yeah. You're the only one who doesn't want to live. No, I don't want to live to be over 100. I don't. There's these people who are like, "Oh, aging's a disease" or something like that, and it's like that's weird. It's like saying like growing hair is a disease or something.
Yeah.
Oh no.
What if it is?
I know.
Secure.
Probably, right? No, it's the opposite, not growing. Like being.
Although there's a lot of people that want to cure baldness. That's a regular email.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's
for
like
sure.
once a week at least. Can you CRISPR me to not be bald anymore? That's a really regular one. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that want to cure for baldness.
Yeah, I feel like the anti-aging crowd does come off as narcissistic and crazy. Um, I mean, what do you mean legit stuff? Here's the thing: is like everybody's like, "Ooh, this stuff is legit." They made dogs live an extra, you know, 6 months or something. It's just like, it's not legit to me. The thing is that like human beings, our genetics, any animal's genetics is so crazy, right? That you're more likely to die of anything else but aging,
Yeah.
right? You're not going to die of quote unquote old age, right?
The thing that gets me is just people's inability to define it in a consistent way. Like you ask four different people in the anti-aging crowd, what is aging? Like define aging to me. And you get four different answers. So it's like, so y'all trying to cure four different things.
Yeah, and it's like if you don't cure all other diseases and illnesses, it doesn't matter if you can live forever because you're gonna die of cancer before you even make it to 100.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna die of heart disease, and so it's like yeah, this idea that we die of like old age is really weird because it's like
Yeah.
it's time, it's not age that's the problem.
That's what always gets me, like with cancer, is everybody's like, oh, well, if we can not get shorter telomeres, nobody will ever get cancer again. It's like, that's not how cancer works. It's like,
Yeah.
just keep going out in the sun day in, day out. Keep breathing oxygen day in, day out. You'll get cancer eventually.
Yeah, the accumulation of mutations in your body just like builds up and eventually you get cancer. You know, it's like it's crazy, the statistics. You know, like 50% of people will get cancer or some shit like that. It's just like because we've been able to prolong our lives long enough where like
And that 50% is just the ones that died of something else first. If you cured all the other diseases, cancer will catch them eventually too. Cancer's like
I,
either you die of something, like either you die of cancer or something else first.
yeah. So if you can make it that far, you know, then yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's real.
I think we should cure cancer in tortoises, Troy, not shrews. But you know, teach their own.
I mean, I'm easy. I just want to cure cancer in dogs. They,
Oh yeah, that's easy.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm predictable.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. The thing is, like, it's just a fundamental part of the process because, like, imperfect replication inevitably leads to some kind of failure. Like you'd have to, I do think it's possible to make a human that lives much longer, but I think you'd have to engineer them from the get go. So like engineered an embryo to grow into a person who has like resistance to all these different things that normally kill you, and then you get a person that can live longer.
Yeah. mRNA technology is not promising in cancer at all. Like, it's so funny because like mRNA with the COVID vaccines, everybody's like, "Ooh, mRNA is so great," and it's like, no, it's still as shitty as it was before the COVID vaccines. The government just paid money for it.
Yeah, they just brute force the shit out of it. And
it's like there's so many better vaccines. Like you don't need mRNA.
What got me is like everybody started talking about how this is like super new technology, but it's like the first one was in like 1993 or some shit like that when that first patent came out. It's like this is not like the idea of injecting somebody with RNA and then having that express a protein is not at all new.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like I don't, mRNA is not going to save us at all.
Yeah. And plus, like, and there's really like that's a big problem because like like cancer's a problem of like you've added something, you have this new trait you want to get rid of, but like gene therapy is good at adding things to a small number of cells. It's not good at taking things away from a large number of cells. So like if you want to like fix your cancer mutations in like a billion cells, like there's just not a gene therapy that can do that yet. We don't have the technology. So like, and then mRNA would be like even super temporary. You get like 2 days of whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay to be afraid of stuff like mRNA. I mean, it's okay to be afraid of a lot of these treatments, especially like we the scientists, even these clinical trials, like they're not completely comprehensive, and that's the thing we're seeing now, right? We're seeing that like there are a lot of side effects, right? And like not just fake side effects, right? Side effects that are confirmed by the CDC and other places. And so like these things, every drug is going to have some sort of side effect or issue, like Tylenol kills like 300 people a year or some shit. It's like nothing is free of side effects or like hurting people or anything like that. And I think it's totally normal to be afraid of these things. And I think it's just like you have to weigh the risk versus reward on stuff like this. And I think that's up to you as a person.
And that's true of any medication, whether it's like pain pills or, a vaccine or heart medicine or anything.
Yeah. Like, make the choice. And if you don't completely understand it, talk to medical doctors, scientists, other people, try to get a better idea. But like, I'm kind of the viewpoint that like people should have the right to do with their body what they want, whether that's to take a vaccine or not take a vaccine. They deserve that right as a human being to be in control of their own body. It's like the least thing we should have, but we don't.
Yeah. It was funny when we did our vaccine. People got mad that we did the wrong vaccine. Yeah. and so they called us anti-vaxxers.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing is funny in general. Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
I mean, that's good, like we should allow people to be who they are or whatever, do what they choose.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're talking about like your own body. Like, if you don't own your body, you don't own anything. You have no rights.
Whatever it is, it's like there is a potential for there to be harmful side effects and shit like that.
The bots
even though like the people say, oh, the side effects are much smaller than your chance of getting COVID, like still people should be able to make that choice,
Not everybody's the same, right? So like the side effect risk varies from group to group, right? In some groups, things weren't tested on. Like I know England came out eventually saying one of the vaccines, I don't remember which one, was not recommended for boys below like 15 or something because the risk of side effects was greater than the risk of COVID. And they didn't change the recommendation here in the US, but they did change it in the UK. So it's like,
that's one thing that really bugs me. Is like each country has their own like FDA type place that'll like allow things to be used as medicines and stuff like that. And it's like nobody, if something's like approved in one country, it's not approved in another country, which doesn't. It's like the scientists in the US are better than the ones in the UK or vice versa. So that like, no, we have to make sure it's correct ourselves, not just like they make sure it's correct, which is like the dumbest thing ever. It's like, wait, what?
Countries that just do that, they just have like a list, and it's like, if it's approved in the US or China or any of these like big countries, then it's automatically approved here because they don't want to, like, they're a small country and they don't want to have to bother having their own FDA or whatever.
Oh yeah, well, most of those countries just let everything. Whatever. Any drug is allowed here,
Yeah, and it is crazy. That's another thing that's weird to me is like how many things, like whether something's prescription only or over the counter varies from country to country. It's like you can go to some countries and just be like, hey, I'd like some whatever, and they just give it to you. And then you go to another country and they're like, no, we need a doctor. Okay, then.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. There, a lot of countries, Mexico and, South American countries and places like that where you can just like go to a local pharmacy and get drugs that you can only get through prescription in the US.
And things like this, right? Like my inhaler, it's over the counter now, but it used to be over the counter, and I bought it over the counter for like $30 an inhaler, right? And then they changed some laws, environmental laws, weirdly, and outlawed this particular inhaler. So then I had to get a prescription inhaler, which costs like 3 times as much. And that's not counting having to pay to go to the doctor, for the doctor to go, yep, you still have asthma. It's like, it's not going away. It's going to be this way for forever. Just let me buy the damn thing. Or I was like, just write me a prescription for the next 10 years. They're like, oh, I can't do that. It's like, well, am I going to get better in the next 10 years? They're like, no. It's like, they just want you to come in every 6 months so they can keep writing prescriptions.
Oh, yeah, that's so dumb. Stuff like prescriptions are so dumb, especially for like conditions that are lifelong or things that you'll take. It's just like why do I have to go to the, like, what are they gonna say that's just gonna be like, it's like they could be like, hey, if anything changes, if you get prescribed any new medications, contact us just to verify that, like, there's no harmful side effects while being on these 2 medications at the same time or something like that. But like, it's super confusing. It's super annoying.
And it's not like they even check that. You just go into the doctor's office. They're like, hey, how you doing? They check your vitals or whatever. And then they're like, hey, so what'd you come in for? Like, I just need a new prescription for my inhaler. And they're like, okay, write it to you, hand it off, and charge you $45, And so it's like, it's not even like they do anything other than write a prescription. So it's just like a weird racket. But, I looked up the statistics. After they outlawed it, like the year it stopped, the number of poor people who died of lung-related problems, spiked. So, I mean, they wrote a law and it killed a lot of people, especially people who couldn't afford to go to the doctor and get prescriptions. They just did without their medication. And so it's just like, okay, screw those people, I guess. And, and I tried a bunch of different stuff, tried to do without it, but eventually just had to because I don't have any money time either. But like people with really severe asthma that are like gonna die if they don't use their inhaler 10 times a day. I mean, come on now, you can't just kill people.
Yeah.
I use Primatine Mist because it's the only one that's over the counter, and I don't have any problems with epinephrine. A lot of people, epinephrine makes their heart rate go up and things like that, but it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting with children and stuff like that. They are pretty crazy about, having you come in and stuff like that. And it's not necessarily required. That's one of the weird things is like, they try to make you feel bad about a lot of stuff if you don't do it. And it's just like, wait, like, I have to pay for this. And like, yeah, it's like, I remember one time when I was much younger and I went to the eye doctor to get contact lenses. Now I just buy them from Canada.
Nice.
You can just buy them online from Canada and they'll ship them to you and you don't have to get a prescription or anything.
Yeah, because what's going to happen? Oh no, I have the wrong contact lenses.
Totally.
My vision's blurry.
But like, if you actually buy them in the US, you have to have a prescription that's like a year. You have to get a new prescription every year. And I'm like, this is dumb. Like, I don't want to get a new prescription. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Like, the only reason I'm going in is like to satisfy, some requirement made by the government or something like that. And I went into the doctor and she's like, oh, it looks like, you have like some scratches on your cornea or something. Have you been using your contacts, like not taking them out or reusing them when you should be throwing them away or something like that? And I was like, yeah, probably, because like I can't afford to, at the time, I was like, I can't afford to buy contacts, enough contacts that I can just like.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? It's like,
yeah,
it's like there's nothing I can do. I can't afford it, and yeah, they make all these things that are just like that put cost barriers in the way of people actually being healthy, and that's annoying.
Yeah, especially when it's like just some group of dudes up in some office somewhere who don't know a damn thing about medicine or anything. They're just like, you know what I think? And the other guys are like, yeah, I think so too. Let's make that the law. That's pretty much fucking it. And then people die.
If you have like muscular dystrophy or something like that, that's a chronic deteriorating disease that does get worse over time. Of course, it's good to go in for a regular check. Anything that is some deteriorating or illness that gets worse with time, it's good to go. And that's not what we're saying. We're not saying like don't ever go in for regular checkups or anything like that. It's just like,
yeah,
we're just talking about the added cost on top of getting prescriptions for a lot of things, just like going to the medical doctor. And sometimes it's like every month or every 3 months. And it's just like, what?
It's like my mom. She's got a chronic pain condition, and so she's been taking pain medication for my whole life. And I mean, the regulations are crazy, and like it's gotten worse and worse over time, where she just like has to constantly go into the doctor for them to confirm that she still has it, nothing's changed, and she still needs her medication.
Yeah, anxiety. I remember when I got prescribed medication for anxiety, and they're like, you have to come back every month to renew your prescription. And this place was like an hour drive or, like 45-minute drive away at the time or something like that. And I was like, that's fucking ridiculous, It's like, can't we just be like, has your anxiety gone away? No. And then just be like, all right, we'll renew your prescription.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really weird. It's like, especially like, like I could get it if the drug's like super dangerous. It's like, 10% chance this drug kills you if you don't have the right, if you don't actually have this condition and you just like WebMD it and think you have it, then sure, I can kind of get some things being prescription, but like, yeah, stuff that like once you check,
drugs, like should just be available to anybody. You should just be able to get them over the counter. It's kind of fucking ridiculous that you need a prescription for a lot of things,
Yeah, but if it's something that's just like, yeah, you're gonna need this for forever. What are we doing here?
Yeah. It's like, yeah, who's gonna die from most of this stuff? It's just like.
Yeah, and if it's just like not gonna change anytime soon, like what are they worried about with my inhaler? That I'm gonna like my asthma cures itself, and then I keep buying them and using them because I'm an inhaler addict now. I'm like, what is the goal?
I don't know. It's really weird. Yeah, it's really weird gatekeeping thing. Yeah, because it is like in some countries you can just go into the pharmacist and just be like, all right, I'm sick. I need, this whatever, antibiotic, this thing, this steroid, and they'll just give it to you. And like nobody's dying.
Yeah. And also like, yeah, and like fish antibiotics and stuff like that. Like I've definitely taken fish antibiotics.
Right on. I mean, antibiotics are easy to get in general.
Yeah,
for sure.
But yeah, you take like what was it? Or like somebody was saying that melatonin is not over the counter in Germany. It's like I think it's impossible to kill yourself with melatonin. Like I think they have not found an LD50 with it. Like
No.
I was listening
Easier
to
kill yourself with salt or something.
Yeah, or wait, like I think they've not found a dose that kills you. Like there was a story I was looking at the other day where this boy ate like a whole thing of gummy melatonins. It was like 170 of them, and like he was like delusional and woozy and like spaced out. So
Slept for 24 hours.
and his mom took him to the hospital, and they just monitored him, and he was fine. So it's like I don't think it kills. Like if like one of those things would knock me smooth out. So 170 for a kid, that's like some deep ass sleep.
How do you eat 170? Like,
I think he would just had like he just like ate a bunch of gummies, you know.
I know, but like, I mean, like, yeah, it's just like weird. You just like leave your kid in the other room alone for like an hour, 2 hours, and you're just like, oh, what are you doing?
I think the kid was like 14 or something.
Oh, 14? Wow, that kid's just, I don't know.
But yeah. So I mean, but there's been like a lot of cases of similar stuff, right? So I don't think it's, I don't think it's something anybody would have to worry about. But it kind of also doesn't surprise me that Germany's like, you need a prescription.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is weird, and it's just like, damn, like, I get it. Like, there should be somebody who's definitely like, what medications are you currently on? And what, like, pre-existing health conditions do you have that, like, might be affected by this medication, right? Something like that. Like, the majority of medications aren't gonna, like, like, even antibiotics, like, they suck. But, like, they're not gonna kill you. Yeah. People be like, oh, it's increasing antibiotic resistance. It's like, let's be honest. Like, the agricultural industry uses billions of tons. I once calculated this. The agricultural industry uses billions of tons of antibiotics every year. And like the amount prescribed to human beings is like 1/1000th, oh, yeah. Even less, like 1/10,000th of what they use in agriculture. And it's just like, I don't think it's really going to increase antibiotic resistance and bacteria. Like, that's human beings taking it. I don't think it's the problem. How about we decrease its usage in agriculture, and stop feeding every animal? Because like these animals, they just like add antibiotics to the diet. It's not even like,
it's not like if this cow got sick, so we needed to add something. They just do it as a preventative measure. It's just antibiotics and everything. Yeah,
it's just like fucking crazy. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I use antibiotics when my dog gets sick, but that's because they have like an infection or like a wound or something. But like, just doing it all the time, just as a baseline, that also just seems weird to me. It's like from the day you're born to the day you die, you're gonna take it, or like 2 weeks before you die or whatever, you're gonna take antibiotics.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, and there's so many drugs that just would get prescribed that are just like, that's not gonna, like, you could literally just eat the whole thing and it's not gonna kill you. Yeah. It's like birth control. It's something that people were talking about recently, is making it over the counter. It's like, I don't see why not. Like, it's weird that it's not.
No, it wasn't. Why would it not be?
Yeah.
Because don't you get like the whole 30 days worth of it anyway? So like, if you were gonna just go crazy and eat them all, you could just sit there and go crazy and eat a whole 30 days in one day anyway.
Yeah, but it's like not gonna do anything.
Yeah, I know. It's like, might make you like feel weird, but it's not like your heart's gonna stop.
Yeah.
Stuff's weird.
Yeah. Who knows?
But yeah, I think a lot of that just comes down to like the type of person who wants to be in charge of a big government organization that makes rules is the kind of person who really likes making rules. And so they're like, finally, I can tell a lot of people what to do. My life is complete. I feel good as a person.
Finally, I get to make the rules.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they're just like, I think they just kind of like get off on it. They're just like, guess what? Today I made a rule that's going to make life slightly more annoying for 300 million people. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. It's like, and then when they like make stuff over the counter that wasn't previously over the counter, and it's just like, wait,
were you in?
What happened? What changed?
Right.
Like nothing.
Uh,
Somebody changed the rule because they changed the rule. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand is like a lot of the things in society are like arbitrary rules that some random person made up.
Yeah.
And probably for no good reason. And like we're meant to follow them. Why? Because we just exist in a society with these people. Not like there's not any good reason for it, you know? And so it's just like, all right. Yeah, like rules in the US for purchasing alcohol are always really funny, you know? It'd be like, no buying alcohol before 10 a.m. or like no buying alcohol on Sundays or something. You're like, why? This doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't get it.
That's what gets me is like especially like in Mississippi we have dry counties, right? So it's like you drive to the next county to buy your alcohol and then drive back rather than just buying it closer to your house. So it just ends up with more people who are on the road drunk than at their house drunk. Or like lower the alcohol percentage. So it's like instead of 8%, you only get like 3% beer. So that just means instead of like drunks, you have like drunks who are really full and have a lot of extra calories. So you have like heart disease and alcoholism now.
Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah. It's like, why are there rules on that? That's just so funny. Yeah, dry counties and stuff like that. It's just like, really weird. Yeah. But like, people are like, yay, rules, you know? And me, I'm just like, fuck this. It's how I was born. I don't know. It's just like ingrained into me. I don't follow rules well.
Yeah, I've always had trouble with that also.
Yeah.
Which makes it hard for me to tell other people what to do because I always feel like I'm being rude or mean.
You're always being rude, you said?
No, I said that's what makes me not like I don't like telling other people what to do either because it makes me feel like I'm being rude or mean to them because like I don't want other people telling me what to do, so why am I here telling this other person what to do?
Yeah, I feel you.
Catalog?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's like, I mean, they've tried to ban everything, but it doesn't work. Yeah, banning stuff definitely doesn't work. And like, I'm not like super libertarian, and I'm not like, ooh, we should make like heroin legal and all that stuff. Like, I'm okay with there being like making some stuff more difficult to obtain than other stuff. But also, it's just like, like if especially things like cannabis, it's like there's no way you can overdose on it. Like the harmful effects are very limited, or at worst they're like no worse than smoking cigarettes if you smoke.
I think you passed out long before you could overdose unless you just like speed gobbled a whole bunch of edibles or something.
Oh, I don't think, like, I think it's one of those things also where like they can't find an LD50 for.
Okay.
Yeah, or at least it's not like reasonable. And so it's just like,
that's the kind of thing where it's like, especially when we have like cigarettes and stuff, like how is tobacco legal, which we know kills like who knows how many people, and cannabis is not. Like it's like so random that you can just tell that it was just like a bunch of shit that kind of happened for various reasons over time, and we just call it a system when it's actually just a bunch of garbage piled on top of itself.
Yeah.
When we all pretend it makes sense.
Yeah, it's just like, what is going on? Yeah.
You look at things like, like prohibition obviously did not work. All it did was make gangsters. And, and I think pretty much everybody in the U.S. is on board with federal legalization of
okay, so THC, the LD50 is 500 milligrams per kilogram. Yeah, so it's like 1 gram every 2 kilograms. You'd have to consume a pure THC. So for you to kill yourself on THC, let's say the average person weighs, I don't know, like 60 kilograms or something, you'd have to consume 30 grams of pure THC. That's,
like a bowl full.
Like,
Yeah.
good luck with that, you know?
Yeah, just like fill this up. Get a spoon. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like, yeah, I don't think any normal person can reasonably overdose.
Yeah, and honestly, if you filled this up with pure ethanol, you'd overdose too, right?
Yeah.
Like if you just filled that with Everclear and just chugged it, you'd die. Probably same thing with nicotine also.
Oh, nicotine, the LD50 is really low, actually.
Yeah.
It's scary, like how much of a poison nicotine is. And that's why, you know, I don't know if you ever consume nicotine, but like if you consume enough of it, it makes you feel sick, right?
I know I've heard of people like swallowing chewing tobacco and throwing up and stuff like that.
Yeah, so like a 0.1 milligram per kilogram, 1 milligram per kilogram can be lethal.
So 500 times more than THC.
1 milligram per kilogram, right? That's crazy because like for somebody who weighs 60, 70 kilograms or whatever, that's like 70 milligrams, like shit. That's like a tiny ass amount. You know, it's like it would be like a couple grains of salt.
Yeah.
That's how much that would be. It's just like, whoa. Yeah, but you know, it's legal.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what gets me is how random it is. Like, I wish we would just pick a like road. It's like either we think it's fine for people to do stuff or not.
Yeah, you know, it's like,
like
I don't know. I mean, it's just like a generational thing. It'll take time, and it's like people start voting younger politicians into office, which is
right.
I can't believe people vote for.
I know. That's what gets me. Is like we've been voting for the same generation for a long ass time now.
People always complain about it. They're like, "Oh, I don't want old white guys in office," and they only vote for old white guys. It's like, I'm confused.
I know.
Like, but they're the only one who could win. Yeah, unless you vote for somebody else.
Because I know. Oh, it's so frustrating because it's just like, but you see what's happening, right?
Yeah. You'd make us in charge of the wow. Thanks, Troy. I hope you never rule the world or the U.S.
What's the head of the DEA get paid? We'd have to split it, but you know.
Pretty good. Generally like higher level government positions, I think max out at like 160 or something like that. Plus you can get extras for certain stuff. So, you know, probably wind up with like 200K per year. I mean, minimum. Not to mention like all the speaking, you know.
Yeah, and all the under the table bonuses and vacations you get.
Yeah, I mean, people try to vote against, but I'm the one who votes for. You know, like I vote for people that I want.
Break the system.
Yeah.
If everybody just voted for, the shit would get better overnight. But whatever.
Yeah.
I'm the weirdo.
Yeah. But California is funny. I remember in them, you know, they'd have all these like really like downstream, you know, like the treasurer of the school district you live in. And I'd usually just pick like the most random person that was.
Yeah.
I feel like I like that person's name. They don't seem like a career politician, so I'm going with them.
I voted for somebody because their name one time. There was a judge in Mississippi on the coast because his name was David Ishii. I was like, well, I have to vote for him, I think.
No, you cannot contract us for trying to treat conditions. Unfortunately, developing drugs for people that aren't approved by the FDA is illegal, and giving them to the people like. So, you know, we do consulting. The Odin website, we do have a link for consulting, and you know, we're open to consult and talk about, you know, medical, you know, the literature regarding diseases and illnesses and stuff like that. But generally, we can't give medical advice or, we don't want to. Not just that we can't, because it's complicated. We're not the ones who are going to pay the price if things go wrong, and we don't know the complete situation most of the time, and it's hard to without having medical records and all these other things. And so generally we avoid even consulting on medical situations and treatments unless there's like some concrete scientific research we can contribute or help with that has nothing to do with medical advice.
Can we engineer a voting system that doesn't make us betray third parties because of the spoiler effect?
What is the spoiler effect? I never even heard of that.
I think that's where like people that's like Ross Perot or whatever. So like people don't want to vote for somebody that's like similar to one of the main candidates because they'll be like split the vote between those two on this and just not get all the votes, and then they win even though maybe the majority of people voted for somewhat like-minded candidates. But yeah, I think just give people, you get one vote, but you have to pick whether it's for or against. All the against votes cancel out a for vote. Whoever has the most for votes at the end wins.
I like the parliamentary system, where it's like we all vote for whatever parties we want. And then like at the end, like the party with the most candidates, they get to choose like the prime minister or president or whatever.
I don't know.
It seems to be like
better.
It seems to be like a pretty good system, because then it's just like you're voting for the things you actually want. You're not voting for like a specific candidate, and then it creates more parties and people being willing to vote for more parties.
It does create more parties for sure.
Yeah. Which I think is a positive thing. Yeah. Two-party systems messed up.
Wrong, yeah, I think more choice is always good. Locking people into two choices they don't want is not a good way to run things.
Have either of you considered moving to international waters? This worked for me. I had to build a stealth research vessel. The Arctic is nice. Well, number one, that sounds completely made up, but I'll try to pretend like you're actually telling the truth. Number two, it's technically not really the way it works. Like just because you're in international waters doesn't mean you can't like be stopped by government agents or things like that. It's like a common misconception that it's just like if you murder somebody in international waters, you can still, the governments aren't just going to be like, oh no, we can't do anything about it. Like,
yeah, and like maybe if you stayed there, they just wouldn't care. But like, if you come back, they're gonna be like, hey,
you like did something bad. So there are plenty of countries where things, making drugs and things like that are totally legal. Where there's like, but you have to understand that like the repercussions of it, right? Like the repercussions aren't just like, ooh, like there's no patents you're breaking if you go to the Dominican Republic and make and administer this drug. No, it's like when you come back, like everybody's going to be trying their damnedest to like stop you, sue you. Like there's worse things than being in jail,
Yeah. And I mean, also like, if you get like, even if you get away with whatever it is, then they'll still like they can always just do whatever, right? They can find something else, or they can make a new rule and say you violated it and throw you in jail for that. Like that's the other thing people don't realize about the government. Like if you piss off the government, they can make new rules, right? At any time. They can change the rules on you. So like you can't be like, haha, I found a technicality where I can beat the rules. Like, okay, well they'll just change them. There's
nothing worse than jail. Trust me, been there twice. Well, I mean, like I've never been, to jail. I've been arrested, but or jail or prison, which one is?
I think if they put you in a cell, it's still just like jail.
Oh, I've been to jail twice then. I don't, it wasn't that, but I mean, it was smaller town. It wasn't like anything crazy. Never been to prison, but like, I'm sure it's terrible. I have no idea. I can't, but like, you can also just imagine having everything in your life stripped away from you, having no money, having no ability to get any sort of credit or job or anything like that. Um, like maybe, having your family and your friends not want to interact or talk to you, you know, constantly having to show up in court, constantly having to deal with harassment and other things. It's yeah, it's just like it can be pretty bad, and that's one of the things that um, yeah, that's one of the things that I want to avoid.
Yeah. So,
Like not having my life destroyed for like what, like being the first person to do something or like, and that's a weird question that you have to really think as a biohacker is like, would you be willing to go to jail to try to save somebody's life or help them? And when it comes down to it, the answer is just like, not really, not somebody I don't know. And that's just like the harsh reality is like,
especially when you got kids and a family, like I owe them me, like I owe them being there more than I owe somebody I don't know something, and I can't avoid that. I can't be like, sorry kids, I tried something and maybe it didn't even work, right? And the person still like it doesn't change their fate at all, but I go to jail and for 15 years and miss my kids growing up. I'm not going to do that.
yeah. And it's just like, so it's like, is it worth it? I don't know. If I had a lot of support, hundreds of millions of dollars,
Yeah.
or at least tens of millions of dollars in support, and people willing to back me up and be on my side, then maybe. But otherwise, it's just like, there's no way I'm going to come out on top. And so there's a lot of things that I could be doing that I just don't because the risk is too great. And that's a sad reality. It's that like sometimes society's not ready for things.
Yeah. That is a weird thing, because like a lot of times it's not even about like ethics or whatever. It's just like novelty alone is enough to make something scary.
Yeah, look at Assange. Look at people who are just harassed. Like Julian Assange, what has he ever done besides just like have a website that hosts, information that whistleblowers send him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the whistleblowers too, like that's something I never got. Like somebody was like, hey guys, y'all should know the government's been illegally spying on everybody, and then like the government's like, oh man, this is the other parts of the government are like, this is bad, we should shut this down and like stop this thing, and then that person's still persecuted. Like, weren't they right?
Oh yeah, Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning, like all these people.
Chelsea Manning, that's what I was thinking.
It's just like, gosh, yeah. It's funny because like people are always like, Barack Obama's the best president. I'm like, yeah, he also instituted the largest mass surveillance program in the history of the world and uses it against his own citizens. So like, you think that's a good president? I don't know. And he lied about it to our faces. No, we didn't do this. And then Edward Snowden, and it's just like,
yeah. Talk to companies that process payments for marijuana companies. It's not a bad idea. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're more.
I don't think there are companies that process payments. I mean, maybe there's a lot of these marijuana companies do weird stuff. I was just in California and you buy cannabis and they're like, all right, so here's what we do. We have this like payment processor, and what we do is like we give you $5 back. So it's like you're getting cash, and then like you're not actually buying product or something, and then it's weird. Like they always have these weird arrangements where it's not like you're actually paying for cannabis.
Oh.
So when they like sign up for payment processors or some shit like that, they're like, we're not selling cannabis. We're selling like the bag that cannabis is in.
Yeah, exactly. We're selling tokens, and you can exchange tokens for free cannabis. Yeah. The thing is, and that's one thing that's weird to me is like with cannabis, like Mississippi, like they will arrest you and put your ass in jail. You know, you'll lose your job. You'll be like gone for buying cannabis. But you go to some places and it's like, oh, there's an app for that. I'll pull up the app. They'll just deliver it to you wherever the hell you are. It's like, how is it like this is the same country, but like this is like go to jail, you fiend, and this is just like, oh, we made an app for that.
I know.
Can we not come together on this somewhere in the middle?
It's funny because some of the apps is totally like a drug deal. Like they only accept cash, and they have to give you like $1 back or something. It's like really weird. You're just like, what? So you buy like, you know, because usually the stuff, it's not like inexpensive, or usually you buy like some quantity that's going to cost you like $200. And so like some random person, like it's DoorDash, rolls up in their car and, you know, rolls down the window and is like, hey, are you the person buying cannabis? You just whip up like wad of cash and they're like, here. And they're like, here's $1 back because I don't know. Again, they always have these like weird rules about like taking payments and yeah, it's very confusing. But yeah, it's funny. It's just like, come on, like really?
Yeah. Yeah. As far as the payment process being chained through multiple accounts, I don't know. That seems like you'd be more sketchy, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely people who will do payment processing for us. It's not a problem necessarily. It's just, you know, setting it up and making it work. I mean, generally for most industries, you can find somebody who will do payment processing. It's just usually like the availability of the money. So like after the payment is made, some companies will just like hold the money for like 30 days or something, right? To make sure that like there's no chargeback, nothing happens, like nobody dies in the process or something like that. Or like we keep getting
God is killing me.
Yeah. Or like let's see. Yeah, or like the rates that they charge are higher. The amount of money that they'll process in any given month might be a certain limit. They might require collateral and stuff like that. So it gets complicated. But generally everybody can find a payment processor. That's not the issue. It's just like payment processors are undertaking a certain amount of risk, I guess. And so yeah, I wish it were easier. I wish everything was like fucking cryptocurrency, where you could just immediately transfer the amount to your account, and the only processing fee was the small amount that it required to, you know, verify it on the blockchain. That's not reality. There's all these people involved, which just makes it ridiculous, you know, because it's like, who's really getting hurt, you know? Like, it's like, I guess if there's a chargeback and already spent the money or something like that, then it's somebody's out money. But it's like, I don't think that's such a hard problem that we can't fix.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you know, it'll just be more aggravating. And that's kind of the same thing with like all the various social medias and stuff like that. It's like, sure, we can live without them and we can work without them, but it's just aggravating when they do dumb shit. Because it's like their reasoning is like not even real, but they base it on their own ignorance, right? It's like, oh, you're doing dangerous things or medical misinformation. But it's like you're not a medical anything. You don't know anything about any of this.
Yeah, we definitely need decentralization of all these different things, because it's just like the way that they put a tax on society is pretty ridiculous. And even like, you know, you look at the scientific system, the pharmaceutical system. like how little output is actually happening. Like the tax that they put on society is pretty great. And like the more these things are decentralized, the more these things are made available, like the more things become available. And it's weird how people are like, ooh, but everybody's gonna die. And it's like, there was a time, and it wasn't even that long ago, where like there was no FDA, or like,
Yeah.
and like everybody wasn't just dying, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I think things are more decentralized in the US than in most places. Like, obviously not through the approval process, but like drug research and stuff like that is a bunch of independent companies for the most part. And so, like, you know, you can look at the amount of drugs and medical research that comes out of the US, and it's significantly higher than other countries. And yeah, the US has more money, but also, like, you know, I think that's a bit of a proof for the model that, like, having more, you know, having more decentralization will lead to more progress faster.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, for sure. Giving people the freedom to do things, I think, always leads to more progress. And it's funny how we just like don't learn from that.
I know. Like, for a long time, like, we just keep making the same decisions. Like,
yeah,
we need to put one dude in charge of this. That's going to speed things up.
it's the funny thing is, it's just like ever since like the fucking printing press, or probably before that, you know, it's just like, why do people need to read? That's dumb. We shouldn't let people read. Like, they might hurt themselves.
Right? Like, they might read something they shouldn't, which is kind of what we've come back around to now.
Yeah, it is. And instead, it's just like, wait, you know, it's a really good thing for society if everybody can read and write. And we realize that, and then there's just like an explosion of knowledge, and, you know,
The Renaissance happened, the Industrial Revolution,
all this stuff, and it's just like, oh god. And ever since then, you know, everything that happens, computers, cars, airplanes, like anything technology that gets democratized, like, it makes society better. It makes life of people easier. But for some reason, every time it's just like, no, let's not do it. Let's try to hold out as long as we can to not make this technology available to everybody, because bad reason, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like, they try to do computers too, right? I mean, there was talks of like, there only need to be 5 computers in the world to do the things that we'll ever need computers for, because they figured computers would only be used for like calculating nuclear yields, or, you know, astronomical things or something, you know.
Yeah.
And then, like, turns out you can use them for everything.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's strange. I don't get these things. Like, we don't learn very well from history, especially when it comes to like social and cultural phenomenon.
Yeah. It's also like, you know, like, some things definitely shouldn't be too centralized, like agriculture, like recent history, like, especially like Russia and stuff, like your Soviet Union definitely demonstrated like centralized agricultural plans are really not workable. You know, it just leads to lots of people starving, especially when the guys in charge make dumb choices. And, like, you know, some things just need a finer grained decision making process than you can get from a big top down thing. And it's the same thing with medicine, because, like, some dude in Washington can't possibly know your medical history, you know, and every individual person's reaction to something. Like, maybe you've taken a drug in the past and you're like, no, it doesn't, it affects me poorly, you know. And so, you know, that he doesn't know that, you know, or maybe this works for you, but it doesn't work for a lot of other people. You know that, but he doesn't know that, but he's going to still make a decision about whether you can take it or not. It's absurd.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's you know, I think that the incentivization structure in society is something that really ruins a lot. And right now it's very, and it's like the one benefit, and I, you know, take this obviously with like a grain of salt when I say this, because, like, you know, these definitions are very malleable, but like a socialistic system, or a system with universal basic income or something like that, pushes away from capitalism, or a society that has different goals, right? And right now, society is really pushed towards this goal of like everybody wants to make money and make more money. And companies are like this idea that companies will always make more money for their whole existence. Like it makes no sense. Like, how is that even possible? Like, like there has to.
Yeah, and I think eventually we'll. I hope. I'm optimistic. I'm an optimistic person, so I think eventually we'll figure out some cobbled together model that'll work pretty good.
Yeah.
Time scales. The problem is time. Like just about any model can work for a short period. It's like, how do you create a model that's stable over 1,000 years or 5,000 years?
For sure. Yeah, we generally don't think on that time scale. Everybody's just like, my lifetime. Like, I want to be super rich, and like, I'm going to support the capitalistic system because I want to enjoy all these things that the super wealthy people enjoy. And it's like, that should not be goals that we all have. There's a lot better things in society than flying around on private planes,
Yeah.
And I think once we have that more ingrained in people are more interested in, things that bring health and joy and, discovery and whatever. Things will start changing. But, right now the culture of runaway capitalism is just destroying everything, destroying medicine, destroying our lives. And it doesn't seem like there's any escape.
I think a lot of it has to do with the sort of cronyism too. It's like, once those goals get integrated into like the way the government makes choices, it gets really screwed up because there's like no competition between the government and the companies, and they should be like friction creating forces between each other. Like I'm all about, like I want society to be full of friction because like the harder it is for people to like do stupid stuff, the less likely people are to do stupid stuff. Like I think laws should be really hard to get passed. So like when people are like, oh, we have too many Democrats and Republicans, they're not going to get anything done because they're fighting each other all the time. I'm like, don't get anything done. Excellent.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm not, because they're going to have to get rid of all the shitty laws that they put in.
Yeah, but that's the thing is if there's too much friction up there, they can't make any new ones. Gridlocked against each other.
I guess that's kind of okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough. It's tough right now in the world we live in. But yeah, it's like, it's one thing I'm really interested in is like getting back to where artisanal things are more appreciated in society.
That's coming. I mean,
and like mass production is like shunned, right? Because like that's kind of one of the bases of like capitalism is mass production, producing goods at inexpensive costs, and then selling them for a profit. Sometimes just like the tiniest profit ever, but because it scales and the volume and stuff like that, like companies make money. And so it's just like,
yeah, that's part of it is, I definitely think like if and it is kind of that distinction between capitalism and corporatism, right? Because like if people would be like, I'm gonna, buy from my like local business or local whatever, versus like Walmart, which I mean, don't get me wrong, I definitely shop at Walmart, but like, the problem is like all the game theory kind of works against you eventually, but like,
yeah, it does. I think that the problem is like any sort of society that's based on making more money, it's always going to turn into runaway capitalism.
Yeah.
Right? Because like even if you shop at your local shop, like your local shop gets a lot of business, eventually it's going to create another branch in another town. And then if it does really well there, then it's going to create another branch, right? Just because like their point is to try to make more money, not necessarily to just like provide some service for the community or provide, some artisanal product or something like that. And to me, like, sure, there's, you could try to say a difference between capitalism and corporatism, but the goal of every company is to become a giant corporation. Like, that's the point of capitalism, right? It's like,
yeah, I think,
make more money. No company's like, all right, let's just like find a place where we can have a stable income and like everybody can live an enjoyable life. No, said no company ever, really, right?
And that's part of the problem is like, you create these power structures, whether it's a government or corporation or whatever. And so it's all just like, how do you, because like you're effectively asking a structure built on accumulated power to stop accumulating power. And it's like, if you voluntarily stop accumulating power, which you might, well, then you just get replaced by somebody who didn't.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, it's a good point. We need a new method for exchange of value that is not tied to ever increasing profits. It's true. Like, we need some value that people get that's not just money. And I think things like, as much as like, I think things like capitalism have been great because they have allowed people to rise out of, the social and class structure that they were born into, probably better than any other system that exists. And that's amazing. I mean, look at China. Holy shit, like, that's one of the things they're most proud of is that like 50 years ago, they had the most, one of the poorest countries in the world or something. And then out of nothing, they just built these cities and allowed people to, improve their way of life like drastically in like 40 or 50 years or some crazy shit like that. And like, that's hard to do with any other system. But also, like, eventually it gets to the place where, like, the value is, it starts to separate again, like we're seeing now, where there's just like ultra rich and wealthy and people who aren't, and the cost of things just gets ridiculous, and it just puts so many people out that like the value of capitalism starts to go down again. There needs to be some sort of balance. I think I'm not an economist or anything, but like, what it seems like is there needs to be some sort of balance that are put on people that are just like, all right, like, nobody needs this much money. It's not good, and I don't know the correct way to do it or how it should be done properly or something like that. But like, if people have income and they don't have to work for slave wages 5 days a week, like, that means a lot of shitty things are going to disappear.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's going to fucking work at McDonald's. Like,
yeah, and I think a lot of it is also like, because it's a weird thing because you're trying to invest. Like, people want to invest in like reducing crime and stuff like that. People often invest in things like, more jails and bigger guns for the cops and stuff. But it's also like that just doesn't work good. You have to like, if you invest in like reducing poverty, violent crime goes way down, and if poverty goes up, violent crime goes up, and they correlate really strongly. And I mean, if I was starving to death and my kids were starving to death, I might do some violent crimes too,
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you have less to. And you see it a lot. Like,
you have nothing to lose.
And people who grew up culturally and socially in like lower socioeconomic conditions, a lot of these people are less risk averse because like you have a lot less to lose when you have nothing, right? And so like, you're more willing to take risks because like any sort of advantage you could gain to try to get something is good because like, you don't have anything. So it's I see that a lot, especially in like, science and like startup world and places like that. Generally people who grew up in very like well-to-do backgrounds and shit like that, they're like much more risk averse. Or I mean, they're much more risk averse because like they have a lot to lose, It's like they're like, my life is cushy and good, and like I don't want to lose that. And so they usually just like work with the system and go within the system and participate in the system because like they'll be successful that way. Because they've been set up just by being born to who they are to have some sort of, success in the system.
Yeah. And, it's an interesting thing because it's like, how do you, I don't think anybody actually knows a good system that would like be like, I'm going to say perfect system, but like a really good, pretty optimized system for long-term stability, like something that we could run for 5,000 years and have no troubles, and not have to make major overhauls of. But like, I'm optimistic that one day we'll figure something out. We just have to keep trying stuff. We just have to keep trying new stuff regularly and not be afraid to like try new stuff sometimes. And also not be afraid to give up on stuff that we have tried and it's not worked. But the problem is people get, especially with economic systems, people get hooked on them like it's a religion. They're like, no, my economics
for sure.
is the true way. And it's like, it's literally just how do you trade shit? Come on.
Yeah. And it doesn't even make any sense. I don't even know. Does anybody even know what the reason for the stock market is? It doesn't even make any sense. Like rich people.
Rich people? Yeah.
Like, I don't even get it.
Yeah.
I really don't get the stock market.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's, yeah. It's weird. It's all weird. It's like, I think about that. Like, if you just rebooted history and ran it again, it would be completely different.
Oh, like, totally.
Borders would be different. Languages would be different.
Oh, yeah.
Economic system,
I mean, in like 1,000 years, that's the thing I think about a lot is like, in 1,000 years, things aren't going to be like how they are. Like China or some other country is going to be like, the country that sets the standard for the world or whatever, just like Rome was, whatever, years ago. And, like places in the Middle East were years before that. And just like, it changes, like every few hundred years or even less, like everything completely changes socially and culturally in the world. And it's just like this idea that all these ideas are going to be the main ideas and be around forever are just ridiculous. And especially because like our ideas aren't, again, you look at like China and places like that, like China works pretty well. As much as we like hate on it and all this stuff, like whatever, I'm not going to like defend China and human rights abuses or whatever you want. Like their society works pretty well, and people in China, if you ask them, like they want to live there. They enjoy their life there. They're not like all trying to escape and like come to the U.S. or anything, I think and they're not delusional either. Like they have good lives, and so it's just like
complete momentum. It's like, where do you imagine the momentum's going? So like, if your life is substantially better than it was 10 years ago and even better than it was 20 years ago, you just kind of can project that it's going to keep getting better. But if your life is like worse than it was 10 years ago, or even just not better, you feel like your way of life is stagnating or falling off and dying. And I think that leads to a lot of like hopelessness and things like that. But I think, it like, even if China, like I think eventually China will like hit some sort of peak and then people will start to feel less optimistic about it. But I think
I don't know. But I don't know when that peak is. Like every place does. But yeah, I like that. I see the ideal form of government as one that supports population to then make itself obsolete in the future. That would be like a very noble goal, to be like, we're here to build a system that runs without us.
Right. And that's the whole thing. Because like that's my thoughts on taxes. Like, tell me a multi-trillion-dollar institution can't figure out a way to make money other than taxes. Like, shouldn't it be like
I was at the DMV yesterday, and it was just like, I hand this person this forms, and basically their only job is to manually enter it into a system. And you're just like,
you have to put it on paper. You can't type it into the system yourself from home.
Yeah, you can't just be like, here's the electronic application I submitted, and here's the documents you need to verify it. No.
Yeah.
So they just like take the information you give them and type it in, and you're like, how is this like
Yeah.
this? I could have just filled out the application originally in an electronic format that
Yeah.
then you have to type it in, and it would just like all these things are so inefficient, and it's just ridiculous. And it's like the government spends so much money on things like the DMV, hiring all these employees, and great, they have jobs and stuff like that. I'm not against that, but also like it's so inefficient for the people who show up and are trying to just like get something done, because like what should have been a trip that takes like 5 minutes ends up taking like a half hour, 45 minutes, something like that. And I'm not even talking waiting to like see somebody. I'm talking about like just waiting at the person who's just like entering the information in.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a bunch of big like inefficiencies and time sinks and stuff like that. It's all really weird. And it's like, I think time's our most valuable resource. It's like the one thing you can't get more of. And so it's like, like you waste somebody's time, you've really taken something from them. You waste somebody's money or you waste somebody's whatever, you waste somebody's time. Like you took some of their life.
Yeah. Wish we could get rid of the government and just see what happens. Maybe it'll happen. Get rid of the FDA and just like, because I don't think a lot of people are going to die. I just really don't.
No.
Like, people are smarter than that, right? Like, people aren't dumb.
That's the fundamental difference. I think they really do believe most people are so stupid, they'll just be like, I'm going to just go take, whatever the hell,
And if somebody like sells you a drug that kills you, like, they should go to jail. And so, like, that's probably going to be not a good thing to do.
Right.
Right. And so people are probably going to like purposefully try, to make sure that the stuff they provide people is safe. Reasonable. Yeah.
And it's just thing. It's like, but I think that's the thing. I think the people in charge really do believe that most people are incapable of running their own lives and that they're super capable, so much that they can run their lives perfectly and everyone else's. And
I think
people believe that.
They're just like, we'll protect you. And it's like, I didn't need any protection.
Like in New York, I know a guy from New York who's telling me that like large soft drinks are illegal in New York. You can buy 2 mediums, but not 1 large. It's like, what are you talking about? Oh, that's like even worse than dry counties,
Yeah.
It's like, no, y'all are eating too much sugar. We're going to make it slightly more inconvenient for y'all to get sugar. It's like, really? This is what you're doing? Plus, like, who gives a shit? Like, if somebody wants to eat sugar till they die, I mean, who am I to say that's the wrong way to live their life?
Yeah. It's just like, I don't know. It's weird. Yeah. Is it possible to grow human eyes or limbs? No, it's not. Sorry. I mean, like, it's one thing in a lizard. It's another thing in a human. We're not really at that place, even close to that place at all.
Yeah, we can grow like skin and stuff like that, simpler tissues.
But yeah. Anyways, we're coming on 2 hours. If you got any last questions, send them to us.
And I've killed almost a liter of coffee, so I really got to pee soon. So that'll work out good.
Yeah. I don't really, the stupidity of people, sure, like, there are individual people who do stupid things, and you're never going to be able to stop that. I don't disagree with that. Like, I've done stupid things in my life. Everybody's done stupid things. But I think it's more like the general idea that people are generally stupid, like everybody. Like, the population is stupid. I don't believe in that at all.
Right. Yeah, and obviously, there are people that are going to like blow themselves up. But like, I mean, you're not going to stop that. Like we had, like in Mississippi, they changed the laws around stairways leading up to oil tanks because some people went on top of oil tanks and lit a bonfire, and it exploded. But then they were like, okay, now you have to put fences around it. It's like, I mean, if you're dumb enough to build a bonfire on top of a tank full of oil, I don't think a fence is going to save your life. You're enough to like make that happen.
Person J. Evan wants a special injection to make their ass buff. We don't make ass buff. I'm sorry, I don't know. Do some squats. I think that'll make your ass buff.
That's definitely the easiest way.
AI. I don't know if AI is the most important development of this century.
Yeah, I disagree.
Like what has AI really done for us besides make us ads easier to target towards us? Like you give me like one thing.
Really
like
cool pictures.
One thing besides like misidentifying cat pictures.
But I think, and I think, like I do think AI is an interesting technology that has a lot of potential to do cool stuff, like automate things. But like,
but all of it's like automate jobs and like tasks and like that's great. Maybe it'll make people more free to do other cool, interesting stuff in their life. AlphaFold isn't like AlphaFold hasn't done anything though. You have to understand like it doesn't do something that we couldn't do before. Like, we can solve the structures of proteins. AlphaFold sure can try to solve the structure of a small protein from a sequence, but like it doesn't do anything we couldn't do before. And solving the structure of a protein doesn't even do anything. Like it gives you some information, but it's not like, oh no, we solved the universe or anything. No, it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that you're like, oh, now we can instantly go into drug discovery, because like you still got to do all the like actual science behind it. But it's like, but the whole thing is like I don't know, biology, right? Like once like you start engineering new kinds of humans, I think that's going to be way bigger than like that's going to have a way bigger impact on humanity. Like when we can like take control of our evolution as a species versus, smarter computers. But
and like and I think the big thing is like we haven't figured out AI yet. Like all the tools that people actually, what we call AI, artificial intelligence, is just like some methods that try to use linear equations to like optimize some task that we're trying to do, right? But the problem is that like you can't always solve tasks that way. Generally you can't, right? And it's based on the data you input, and people think, well, it's a data problem, so if you just import more data, it happens. But you look at things like the human genome or understanding like, which is funny, you people are like, well, what's the cause of like autism, or like what makes people taller versus shorter? And they do these like genome-wide association studies, and they look at all the different genes in people who are taller versus shorter, and they still can't figure out, even though they have data from like 100,000 people, or like ridiculous. Adding more data is not going to solve it. And a lot of AI people talk about this. It's like the way we approach AI is fundamentally wrong. Like, yes, it helps us do tasks and stuff like that. But until we find out a new approach that like actually can help us solve these problems, which who knows if it's even possible, or what's possible with like in our physical realm of, science and stuff. But like right now it's like you're never going to be able to make a self-driving car, not the way we're doing it. It's just way too complex. And like we're trying to optimize these little shitty things that are like, is this a traffic cone or is this a human? Like you can't tell the shit. Like,
yeah, and that's the thing. It's just like I do think like even if like really good generalized AI comes around at the same time as like really good, genetic engineering comes around, I think people will, in like 10,000 years, will look back and be like, see that moment, the moment where like humans took control of evolution, more like the moment like fish came out of the water, or like the discovery of fire kind of level of like advancement and change for the species, than like AI. Because I think AI will.
What would we even do if we had like an AI? Like, I don't even like help us drive our cars. Like, that's the best we can come up with. Like, like what would we even do if like, say we get like an artificial intelligence and we have it? Like, what are we gonna have it do? Like even let's say if it's slightly smarter than every human, like it's still not going to be able to solve problems. Like what are you going to be like, world peace? Give us world peace. Like what would it do? I don't even know. Like rocket launch trajectories.
Maybe they need some AI to run like AT&T's customer service. I would be okay with that because right now it's
they try and it doesn't work, right? It's like say do you want to talk to your representative?
And you're just yelling, representative.
But yeah, I agree that like here's the thing is like you're trying to create an artificial intelligence and so like digital world when like it would be so much easier to create an artificial intelligence in like animals.
Yeah.
And I think that's like where the future is, right? Because like that's when people are going to be like, holy shit, you know, when you can like make a gorilla or a dog that can like learn to talk to humans or like, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be like the holy shit moment, not like some AI that can like drive your car, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting thing because it's like, you know, like the only example of general intelligence that we have is in biology. So we know it's possible.
Yeah.
And, you know, and we even have like all of the instructions for how to build it.
Yeah.
We don't understand them all, but we have them all.
Yeah.
100%.
You know, if you like make a human that it's going to be intelligent. Yeah.
And so we can like, and that's the thing is like, even if you make an AI that's as intelligent as a human, that you did no better than somebody who just had a baby, you know, like your lifetime achievement is the same as somebody having a kid, you know? Yeah.
Use of AI is have AIs build AIs to build better super AIs.
Yeah, you hear about this like singularity thing. I don't know that I believe that. Like it's kind of like I don't know. It's almost
because these things are still linear is what you have to understand, right? Like just because you're like let's say smarter, right? Like doesn't mean like scientists aren't like if they were more smart they would do better experiments and like sure they're inefficient, you know, don't get me wrong, but like I don't think having something that's like quote unquote smarter would like make the process move by any faster. Like doing a clinical trial or something with the FDA, like it's going to take the same amount of time whether you're an artificial general intelligence or you're not, you know. It's not like all of a sudden it's going to take less time because you're smarter. And I think that's the issue is that like number one, how do you define intelligence? But like intelligence isn't a thing that like necessarily pushes these processes forward or faster.
and a lot of it's also just like say you have an AGI and you're like, okay, AGI, make a smarter version of yourself. But we have like even if it's twice as smart as a person, is that significantly better than having like 50 people in a team working on it?
Yeah.
You know, which we already have, and they're not achieving it really. Like they can't make up AI smarter than one person, much less smarter than 50 people. Yeah.
What does this say? A long comment by Roy about a lot of different stuff. It's a natural selection. How biohackers address this dilemma. Like I think number one, I think natural selection is fake. I don't think it's a real thing. And there's a lot of people who don't believe that human beings evolved through natural selection.
The bot's back.
How come I banned this in so many different ways? Like, how is this bot back? Like, it's super weird.
There's probably a second bot that keeps re-inviting them or something. I don't know.
It's like it's just like it's like more bots. I just ban them on everything. Ban them on YouTube. Ban them on restreaming. Here's the thing: is that like we have a pretty good idea of the way stuff works, right? And like making a change to like make somebody taller, especially at birth or something like that, it's not going to be like, oh no, like the body doesn't work properly all of a sudden because we made them taller. Like we have a good enough understanding that we can understand how these things happen. I mean, we're not shooting in the dark. We're not just like doing things and we have no idea any idea what the repercussion may be, right? And even stuff that we don't have any idea what the repercussion may be, it's like, that's up to people and their choice, right? Like, drinking Coca-Cola probably demineralizes your bones or some shit, and makes your muscles weaker or whatever, but like, that's a choice that people get to make, right? We are allowed to make these choices. And it's not like you can force people to do these things. Maybe if you're a government, you can, but then you're talking about crazy government genetic engineering shit, and that's a whole nother story. But like, any sort of genetic change or cosmetic change that somebody does to themselves, you can usually do it on animal beforehand, so kind of have an idea what's going on, even though it's not always directly related to human. You kind of have an idea what's going on. Number two, you're usually making this decision by yourself and for yourself, so like, why shouldn't you be able to do whatever you want? Like, why shouldn't you be able to take the risks that you want to take? Anyways, David took off, but I think we're probably going to end here. It's a good time to end. Over 2 hours streaming. Thank you everybody for coming and all your questions and all your interactions with the chat. It was great. We'll be back next week, Wednesday, 11 a.m. Central Time on your favorite social media platform. And hopefully Dariia will be with us, talk some science, talk some bullshit. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming. It was a pleasure to interact and answer questions and just be around. See you next week.